It's time for live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. Every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on your YouTube machine. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. I'll answer your questions about whatever you want to talk about on the Psychetruth. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. Oh my goodness. It's time for live chat. Alrighty, I apparently got up on the goofy side of the bed today, which, I don't know, depending on how you're looking at it, could be a really good thing or... No, it's a good thing. It's always a good thing to be feeling good, feeling happy, even if you're just a little bit on the goofy side. My mantra is that you should just be happy no matter what. So thank you so much for being here. I hope that you are having as fun and frivolous as a day as I am. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Corrina Rachel, and I'm a certified holistic health coach. I have made hundreds of videos on this channel you're watching right now, Psychetruth, on the topics of nutrition, weight loss, health. Some of you know me from our ASMR channel. If you're not familiar with ASMR, it's an entire genre of video dedicated to reducing anxiety and helping people sleep. So handling stress, handling sleep issues, that is also fair game in terms of topics for this chat. So, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I saw a couple of my friends already holding down the fort here in the chat room, so many thanks to all of you for being here. So those of you in the chat room, you can go ahead and start leaving your questions, as I'm already seeing some of you have. If you leave some question marks at the beginning of your question, it's going to make it just easier for me to see in the long list of comments that ends up flooding in. I do my very best to get to as many questions as I can, but there ends up being way too many questions for me to actually be able to answer them all. So if you would like a guaranteed answer to your question, all you have to do is leave a little bit of love for our channel here in the chat. So this is a super chat, which means that there's a little $sign/S looking thing underneath the comment box, and if you click that little S, you can leave a tip with your question. And guys, we really appreciate your tips. I cannot tell you enough. So if you leave a tip, YouTube will actually bump your question up to the top and give me a little alert. So that's really the only way to guarantee that you get an answer, guarantee that your question will be the next one answered. Alrighty, George Not Smith leaving some jokes to start out the chat. How much wood can a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? A woodchuck would not chuck the wood if he could, if his dentures were any good. I would chuck all the wood he could if his dentures were good. Very cute. Alrighty, I'm looking for question marks here. Wow, happy birthday, Brian. That's so exciting. Turning the big 2-1. That is a milestone. So happy birthday to you. If we have a little bit of time later on, I will be happy to sing you a little happy birthday. Let's let's see. James Shaughnessy, does turmeric kill cancer cells? Okay, turmeric. Turmeric has gotten a lot of attention as of late. Turmeric has a lot of antioxidants, which if you have watched the videos I've made on that topic, I like to say, think antioxidants, think anti-aging. Oxidation is part of the process that ages our cells, ages our bodies, and just kind of tends to, result in damage as we get older, right? So antioxidants that fight oxidation actually help to repair our cells and fight off the free radical damage that's caused just from eating processed food and kind of all of the chemical processes in our bodies that produce these little free radicals as kind of the loose change at the end of the chemical reaction. And those things just pile up as we get older. So turmeric has a lot of known benefits. The antioxidant benefits are a big part of that. But it's a little bit of a misnomer, or I don't know, it's not exactly true to say that turmeric kills cancer cells. It's just not quite a direct way of looking at it. So turmeric has definitely been kind of promoted for its ability to help in a situation of cancerous cells. One thing to understand about cancer is that it's not an external thing. It's not like when we get the flu, right? And an actual influenza virus comes in externally, enters the body, and creates what we know as the flu, right? Cancer results because our own cells, right? Our regular cells that have helped us live our whole lives, right? Building our bodies, building our brains, all those different things. Our own cells actually start to misfunction in a way and become cancerous. So when we're looking at how we can either prevent cancer, or once we already have cancer and we want to try and repair those cells or kill the cancerous cells so that our body's healthy cells can take their place, that's kind of a big picture. You know, there's not just one simple thing like, oh, you take this certain pill or this certain medicine and it kills the cancerous cells. It's a whole process that's going on in your body, and what they call the cell cycle control mechanisms, or the reproductive process of each cell in the body. So things like turmeric can be really, really helpful, but I would not say that turmeric kills cancer cells. It's just kind of an overgeneralization. So I don't want to go super in-depth into cancer in this chat, because this is a little bit more geared towards helping people with the everyday health issues that we face. But I hope that you don't have cancer. I hope that's not why you're asking that question. There's a lot of information out there, guys, and a lot of people who have been diagnosed with cancer and then try a lot of different things and share their experiences and what worked for them or what helped them. So I just encourage you to do a lot of research. And if you spend some time researching the actual pathology of cancer and how that occurs in the first place, that is going to give you a lot of kind of understanding as to how to reverse the process or amend that situation once it results. Preventing cancer is definitely the ideal scene to prevent it before it starts in the first place. And eating healthy, getting exercise, getting plenty of nutrients, things like turmeric are great ways to help just strengthen our body and its health and its ability to ward off that pathology of cancer in the first place. Thank you, Reese. Very sweet of you. So yeah, Ilki Aptroot, my moderator here, has chimed in. Turmeric stimulates a process called programmed cell death, which causes mutated cells to die off. So yes, that programmed cell death is called apoptosis. And basically, the whole idea is that inside of your cells, inside of the mechanisms that control your DNA replication, all the growth cycles of the cell, there's kind of these safety protocols that are in place, and so a cell is programmed to kill itself. Okay, apoptosis is programmed to kill itself if the DNA is mutated, or if there's any kind of, structural inherent problem with the cell is actually programmed to terminate itself. So part of what happens when we have cancer is that this whole cell cycle control mechanism, or cell cycle pathway, is altered. And so suddenly the programmed cell death, all right, is taken out, and they actually have identified a protein. I believe it's P53 is this certain protein that's involved in apoptosis, and they've actually been able to determine that cancerous cells have in some way disabled that protein and disabled the apoptosis. So where our cells are supposed to be kind of scanning themselves, right, and then terminate themselves if there's something wrong with the DNA, cancerous cells are able to kind of go underneath that radar. So yes, what Ilke Apteroot is explaining here is that turmeric stimulates that apoptosis. It in some way helps to reinstill that whole process, the little check box, so to speak, so that cell will actually terminate itself because it's unhealthy, because it's damaged or mutated. This is why we don't develop cancer much earlier in our lives, because our cells and the cell cycle pathway that happens every time a cell reproduces is designed to prevent DNA mutations from being from being allowed to actually produce an entire cell. Hopefully that was like kind of a complex topic that I'm trying to make a little bit more easy to understand, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on here. Saiyan Groove. Corrina, you told us in your, I did a video called What the Fuck is in a Big Mac, and I did a worst drinks at Starbucks. So Saiyan Groove is asking when we'll post the video about what is in Chicken McNuggets. I was actually so horrified after the what the, WTF is in a Big Mac video. I was a little scared to do any more videos. But it actually would be really fun to go through the ingredient list in Chicken McNuggets. Interestingly, we've got a lot of the same ingredients that you find in the Big Mac. So that was another kind of part of the reason. But yeah, I will work on that. Maybe we'll do it, do an entire series looking at things like that. Alrighty, I love to see this. I'm gonna give you the good old Jimi Hendrix chord. Jesse Ochoa, thank you so much. My first tip of the day, and this is a big one, $10. Thank you so much, Jesse. Meow, meow, meow. You're a rock star of the YouTube. All right, maybe we'll take off that little tagline for the future tips. Anyhow, Jesse, thank you so much for your tip. I'm so grateful. Of course, I recognize your screen name, so thank you for your continued support of our channel. Jesse's question says, hey, Corrina, hope you've been well. Hope you've been as well as you look. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. Are whole house water filtration systems worth the money? I've heard it's more dangerous to shower in tap water than drink tap water. Oh my gosh, Jesse. Such a good question, and thank you so much for asking it. I don't think that I've ever had this question in the live chat before, but such an important topic. All right, so you are right. What you said, I've heard it's more dangerous to shower in tap water than to drink it, and I was actually really surprised when I found that out as well, and here is why. So I say this a lot. Our skin is not plastic wrap. Our skin is permeable, all right? And that's why when we are in a shower, okay, so not only is the skin permeable to things that we put on it, but when we are in the shower, not only do you have the water itself, But the heat and the steam inside of the shower also turns a lot of those toxins in the tap water, like chlorine, fluoride, etc., plus whatever kind of contaminants or toxins might be in the water. Those things become a gas. And now you're getting the water permeating through your skin, whatever gas is now being in your skin, and that steam coming in through your lungs. So it's like a triple hitter. Rather than when we drink it, the water's just going through our digestive tract. And inside of our digestive tract, we have a huge amount of bacterial cultures and just kind of, you've got your liver, you've got all of these kind of detoxifying elements in the digestive tract. So when we drink tap water, a lot of those toxins will actually be removed in our digestive tract, because that's what it's designed to do. It's to get rid of any of the nasty stuff that we ingest. However, when we are breathing in that steam from tap water, now suddenly our lungs, which are also a filtration system, they're also, while it is a filtration system, there's also going to be certain things that get through that are maybe not able to get through the actual digestive tract, which is highly acidic, right? Remember, your stomach is super acidic. So that's why, when you hear people talk about the dangers of showering in tap water, that's kind of what we're looking at. You've got these multiple exposures. They even say that from the toilet, that when you flush the toilet, the water spinning around the toilet also outgasses some of those toxins in the water into the air of your bathroom. So I would say that if you can afford a whole house water filtration system, that's something that you could, fit into your budget, I would totally do it. At the point in my life that I will hopefully be able to afford to do something like that. Right now I rent. I'm not an actual homeowner, but if I was a homeowner and if I could afford it, I would do it in a heartbeat. So right now at my house, I have a water filter in my kitchen that I use, and I have a water filter on my shower head. So if getting a whole house water filtration system is not an option for you, which I understand it is a big expense, right? Getting a shower filter, getting a water filter on your tap in your kitchen is definitely a really good step in the right direction. However, we could talk about, what about when we brush our teeth every single day, a couple times a day, using tap water? Now, granted, we don't swallow a lot of that water, which is probably good, right? We don't usually swallow water when we brush our teeth. But that would be like one example of where having a whole house filtration system would be really helpful. So you know that you're not brushing your teeth and washing your face with tap water. Also, if you had a shower filter, it wouldn't do anything if you ran a bath, right? Unless you filled it up from the shower. So I'm just kind of listing out reasons why I feel a whole house filtration system is worth the money. Again, something that is a pretty big investment, but I do feel that is a very, very worthy investment, especially if you have kids, especially babies, right? Because you got to think about, what water do you use when you make their formula? What water do you bathe your infant in? Because you probably bathe them in the kitchen sink, right? Or maybe you have one of those little basins or something, but I know a lot of people typically are using the kitchen sink. They're not actually using the shower filter when you're bathing your kids. And for a little baby or a young child, the fluoride and the chlorine in the tap water is even more harmful to them, right? Because their bodies aren't as big. So suddenly what is a really small concentration of chlorine and fluoride for an adult, for a big person, inside of a baby, that concentration is much higher, right? Because they're much smaller. So if nothing else, guys, take-home message to take from this, from this little bit is to use filtered water as much as you can. Use filtered water when you are making baby formula or bathing your baby as much as you can. And, the whole topic of fluoride, whole other topic, but ingesting fluoride in your tap water is totally different than using a fluoride toothpaste or using a fluoride mouthwash. And the difference is whether or not you ingest it. So I definitely recommend a water filter. I definitely recommend that you, consider a shower filter if nothing else. And just be aware that depending on where you live, and you can of course look up the water where you live and see how contaminated it is or see how clean it is. Just educate yourself, So Jessie, thank you so much for that question. Thank you so much for your tip. It means the world to me. Mehran Janejo, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, so my apologies if I just ruined the pronunciation of your name. But the question is how to stay mentally calm after a C-section. So I'm going to kind of broaden out this answer a little bit because not a whole lot of people have had C-sections, but just in general, after a surgery or after any kind of, just getting resituated here. After any kind of surgery or any kind of traumatic experience for that matter, whether it's getting in a car wreck, whether it's, being in a really traumatic argument with someone, we constantly will encounter times throughout our lives that we're in traumatic situations, some more traumatic than others. So I just want to give a couple of ideas of handling traumatic situations. And of course this would apply to the question. The direct question was about a C-section. Now there's a lot of different surgeries out there that people receive. So C-section is a very common one. We could also talk about plastic surgery, reconstructive surgery, liposuction. There are a lot of people going under the knife these days for various reasons. And it's important to just recognize that even if you're out, even if you're under anesthesia for that surgery or whatever, or in the case of a car wreck, right, where usually our mind will actually blank out and not, will let go of those memories because they're so traumatic. Even if we don't remember the traumatic event, it's definitely traumatic on the body. And certainly there's an element of physical trauma and an element of mental trauma that results. So here are some ideas for staying mentally calm, either after or during some kind of traumatic event or surgery or something. Man, that's a big one. The first thing I would say is to be really, what's the word I want to use? I guess vocally compassionate toward your body. And what I mean is to literally say things like, you're gonna be okay. You can heal from this. You can recover from this. If this is something that you chose to do, so not a car wreck, right, but something that you, like a plastic surgery or something that you purposefully did, maybe even apologizing to your body. Or even if it was an accident or something, apologize to yourself for having to go through that. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that we really need to establish that relationship with our body. Because when we go through something traumatic, oftentimes what happens is there's a separation between mind and body. Partly because your mind just doesn't want to be aware of what the body's going through. It's like a protective mechanism, right? The same way that if something scary was going on, you divert your eyes or you look away. So that's kind of what happens between our physical body and our mental body, if you wanted to use it that way, or our body and our mind. There's kind of a separation. So the more that you can kind of think about how can I recreate this relationship between my mind and body, So what I like to do is even, like I said, actively tell my body, I'm so sorry you had to go through this. You can recover from this. You can heal from this. And just saying those words, for some reason, they make me feel better. If you need to, have it, maybe like put it inside of a meditation or use it like a mantra, like these words that you just keep repeating to yourself. But really being compassionate toward yourself is going to be so important. Doing things like taking a long bath, taking, whatever it is that you find really relaxing and enjoyable. If you can go get a massage or go someplace that you really enjoy going. A lot of people I know really enjoy doing the zero gravity floats. So you're like in salt water basically, but something like that. I'm just kind of throwing out ideas, but whatever you can do to nurture your body and give it safety, give it security, and really help it to feel loved and nourished. And knowing that, everything that you do that's good for your body, that makes you feel good, is helping to recreate that relationship between your mind and body. So that where, you kind of, that fear or that pain is something that can be resolved or that can be mended. And we are really the ones that are responsible to do that, or the only ones that are able to do that. Another thing you can do would be to actually listen to a guided meditation or something that is going to help really calm your mind. Because typically what you'll find is that when you close your eyes and you're trying to relax or whatever, the mind is going to be drawn back to that traumatic experience, drawn back to remembering that pain and that protective mechanism, that fear that kind of results as it's trying to protect itself. So listening to guided meditations that actually walk you through a relaxation and just help to take your mind off of that traumatic event, that's going to be the hardest thing. And I think there's really a kind of happy medium between being aware of the event and maybe even thinking about it. If your mind constantly goes back to it, what that's telling you is that you need to spend some time thinking about it. And the more that you kind of cycle through those events and maybe like remembering as much as you can about it, the more that you actively think about it and then actively take your mind off of it, you can actually process the emotions around it. So if all you're doing is trying to take your mind off of it and distract yourself, then you have all of these emotions and fear and pain that are never really processed. So you really kind of need to find that happy medium between thinking through those feelings, processing and feeling them, and crying or screaming or whatever cathartic thing it is to do, so that you can start to take your mind onto other things. And the more that you just kind of practice putting your mind on other things and putting your mind back into that place of compassion toward your body, or maybe even apology to your body for that, traumatic thing it had to go through, you can start to create a more just nurturing relationship. But you can't completely avoid the emotions, or else they'll always be there. So each person is going to really be different. I think it's worth mentioning, and this is my closing thought on this question, is really worth considering talking to a therapist, or maybe it's a friend or family member. But if nothing else, just talking through the emotions that you felt, telling someone how that experience made you feel, telling someone about the fear or the pain that you're feeling, helps you to process that emotion and move through the emotion. So anyone that you can talk about the experience with, even though it's painful to talk about, in some ways talking about it is the only way to actually process through the emotion, move through it, and move on to the other side My blessings to you. I truly, truly feel for you and know that something like that can be really painful and traumatic. At least you have a beautiful new baby, I would imagine. So this is back to Maran's question. Staying calm after a C-section. So my blessings to you, my prayers for you, and I hope this information was helpful. Alrighty, looking for question marks. So yeah, the question marks at the beginning of your question really, really do help, because otherwise I'm just like reading every single comment in the chat room. And then y'all are just sitting here watching me read, and that's not as much fun, right? Okay, wow. Awesome. Okay, so I don't know what is up with YouTube, but it did not alert me. My apologies. Exercise, fitness, workout, weight, stretch, cardio. Just love your screen name for some reason. Thank you so much for your tip. Bow, 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 bow. Exercise, fitness, workout, weight, stretch, cardio. All right, so it just says, I ate a bag of Kroger salad yesterday, no dressing. So that's not a question, but thank you for sharing. If you have a question, please be sure to let me know. Whoa. Okay. Looking for questions. Laura Blanco, what do you suggest to get rid of the cold/flu? All right, cold and flu. I have a couple of videos I've done over the years of like natural remedies for cold and flu. So if you just put in cold remedy on our channel as a search term, you can find those videos and find a lot more information. A couple of things. Let me just name as many as I can. And should be using my timer here, guys. Sorry. Using the timer. All right, 3 minutes. Okay, one of the most important parts of your health and your immune system and body functioning as it's supposed to is getting enough sleep. And that, unfortunately, is probably the main area that most of us shortchange ourselves. We stay up late, we get up early, we can't fall asleep, we stay up late watching TV shows. I'm guilty too. Okay, I'm right there with you. But getting more sleep is probably the most important thing. Another really common thing that I see when people start getting sick is they're like, oh my God, I'm getting sick. I gotta like push myself to get more done and get less sleep. It's like kind of backwards. So when you start feeling sick, or you're already sick, I don't know exactly, but you start feeling that like, I feel like my body's just like not really feeling it. Your energy plummets. That is the time that it is most important to sleep. And especially once you're already sick, sleeping is really important. Interestingly enough, one of the things we find is that when we get sick, it's like our body forces us to sleep. Right? So where a couple days before we had a choice to either go to work, go do this, stay up late, whatever, once we pass that certain breaking point, our body forces us to lay in bed all day and rest. So try to get as much rest as possible. Ideally, do it before you full on get sick, because once you get sick, then you're going to be forced to sleep, and now you're like stuck at home, you're missing work, except it's not fun at all because you're miserable and you're sick. Handling stress, kind of the same side of the coin, but equally important to notice if your stress levels are high and do things to help your body relax, whether it's yoga, meditation, going for a walk in nature, or just taking some time away from work. When you start feeling your body getting drained down and losing its energy, that's a really key time to relax a little bit. Because when we sleep, when we're relaxed, when we are without stress and anger and fear and all those different emotions that come when we're in our normal life, working all the time, running around from place to place, that is when our body can heal. Our primary repair occurs while we sleep, or at least while we're at rest. Eat more vegetables, eat more greens, eat more salad. Your body needs nutrients. The reason our body needs nutrients is to make our cells, repair our cells. Every single process in the body, from digestion to immunity to weight loss, metabolizing fat, requires nutrients. Minerals, vitamins, all of these different things that we get when we eat vegetables and we eat those healthy foods. So taking wheatgrass shots, you know, an ounce of wheatgrass, when you take a little wheatgrass shot at the juice bar, has the nutritional equivalent, not fiber obviously, but the nutrient equivalent of 2.5 pounds of vegetables. So I know that wheatgrass shots are hard to take. Every time I take one, I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Oh yeah, 2.5 pounds of vegetables. They're so packed with nutrients when you drink a green juice, especially something like a wheatgrass shot. But those are really good things to do when you're sick. Supercharge your nutrient intake. Also, things like garlic, turmeric, these are really fantastic immune boosters. Vitamin C, really important immune booster. There's also herbal things like echinacea, goldenberry, I believe, elderberry, that are all really great immune support. So honestly, when I get sick, I eat a bunch of vegetables, I drink a bunch of green juice. If you can eat a raw garlic clove, that's really good for you. Not always easy, but if you can't smell or taste anything, eat some raw garlic cloves, because they're actually really healthy for you. And then we have a place here called the Herb Bar, and I'll just kind of stock up on various kind of like herbal remedies and just try to put as many good things in my body as possible. And then of course, as much sleep and reduction of stress as physically possible. Let's see, looking for questions. Pink slime, Amanda, Mr. Nibbles' mommy, my friend Amanda is here. I'm so glad to see you. Thank you for coming. She's also a moderator here in the chat, so don't piss her off. Just kidding. I guess she's having a little conversation with someone else. She says, pink slime is not the official name for what is in a chicken McNugget. So pink slime was a term not coined by the food industry themselves. They actually have probably done everything they can to try and make people forget about the name pink slime. But basically, one of the oops, previous alarm. Let's see. Pink slime refers to this conglomeration that they create that's typically in beef products, not in chicken products. But essentially what they'll do is they take all of the kind of trash parts of the cow, the things that are usually thrown out. So it's like marrow and tendon and like random stuff, whatever. The things that usually get thrown out and not eaten, what they do is they put it through a big machine and it grinds it all up, and then they treat it with, not bleach, but, God dang, why am I blanking out on that? Anyways, they treat it with some kind of crazy chemical, and then they feed it to us. And that is what pink slime refers to. Now, again, the food industry would do everything they can to have people forget about pink slime. But what they ended up kind of reporting was that this pink slime, or this whatever aggregate of non-edible meat that is processed to become edible, was being used in like school lunches, was being used in fast food restaurants. And so when you go to a burger place and they are promoting that it's 100% beef patty, and you're like, yeah, like what else would you put in it? The reason that they are so happy to tell you that it's 100% beef is because it doesn't contain pink slime. So again, they're not saying no pink slime. They're saying, hey, it's 100% beef. And they're trying to tell you that it doesn't contain that weird filler material that, again, is the unedible parts processed to become quote-unquote edible. Inside of chicken nuggets and any kind of fast food chicken thing, or when you buy like microwave meals that contain chicken, they will usually contain what's called mechanically separated chicken. Mechanically separated chicken, and if you look at the back of a like Totino's pizza with chicken on it, you'll see that ingredient, or whatever kind of frozen food kind of thing. That mechanically separated chicken is not the same as pink slime, but it's kind of the same gross factor. And if you put in mechanically separated chicken on YouTube, there's a couple of videos that go a little bit more into that process. Suffice it to say that if you're gonna eat meat, you want to eat meat from the butcher department. Something that is really just 100% meat. Because when you start eating these different processed meat types of foods and any kind of fast food or frozen food containing meat, you start getting these weird kind of non-food ingredients like pink slime and mechanically separated chicken. Alrighty, scrolling on down, looking for questions. Free one up. Don't you get lower water pressure with a filter on the shower? It really depends. I'm using one called Reign, R-E-I-G-N, and I actually did a video on this channel. If you put in shower filter, you can find that video. And I think the water pressure is awesome. And I have really thick hair. If I don't have enough water pressure, I can't wash my hair. Like, shampoo won't come out of it. So I consider that a pretty good gauge. And I, like I said, find that the water pressure is fine. I think a lot of the early shower filters, they didn't quite have the technology down yet. So yeah, there are a lot of early shower filters that you'd kind of lose the water pressure in. But nowadays, there's a lot of different shower filters out there, and I think they've kind of resolved that problem. I have no idea. Yeah, I saw that too. There's like a little bacon. Bacon pointed out that I have this little red mark right here. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't itch. It's not a bite. It's just like a... I don't know. I don't know. I can barely see it. I'm kind of amazed you could even see that, but... yeah, so I don't know what that is. Hopefully it goes away. It's not a big red mark. A big red mark is like this. This thing is like, it's like tiny. Okay. Rita Tibbs, is swimming in lakes and rivers bad? I love swimming in natural water. I actually really dislike swimming in chlorine. I really dislike swimming in, chlorinated swimming pools. Sorry, I'm a little redundant sometimes. I apologize. So in swimming in natural water, there's a couple things you want to consider. One thing is, like, what is the source of the water? How clean is the water? So the closer you can swim to the headwaters or to the source, the cleaner the water is going to be. If you're swimming downstream of a lot of other people swimming, or just a lot of, time, you know what I mean? A lot of distance, then the water is not going to be as clean. A really good gauge is to look at the water and see how clear it is, how clean it looks, how much it's flowing. Water that's flowing really fast is generally going to be really clean. The more stagnant the water, the more it just sits still, the less clean it will be. The more that you have different microbes and organisms in that water that are making it less clean. So looking for a really good flow of water, looking at the water itself, depending on where you live. I mean, I think, there's some lakes and rivers that I love swimming in, and there's some lakes and rivers that I would never swim in. So I just think that you kind of need to use a little common sense, when you're looking at something. For instance, we have a lake here in Austin, like Lady Bird Lake, but I wouldn't really swim in that because there's lots of boats. It's just like, I just don't consider it super clean. But then there's some lakes in some places that are just absolutely beautiful and pristine and super clean, and I would totally swim in them. So I think it just really kind of varies on where you are. As a general rule of thumb, I would not say that it's a bad thing, but you do kind of need to be careful. And again, really probably not a good idea to swim in stagnant water that's just kind of sitting there. Once it starts to get gross and smelly, pretty good indicator that you don't want to be swimming in it. So DDS is saying, did you ever hear of St. Jude's Hospital? All children, they all have cancer. So the comment that I made earlier about how, about children not having cancer, what I meant is that not all children have cancer. So yes, there are children with cancer, and it is very, very sad. And actually looking at reasons as to why or how those children develop cancer would be like an entire topic for an entire live chat. So yes, it is possible for children to develop cancer, definitely. But the reason that not all children have cancer and that not all humans get cancer as they get older is because of the cell cycle control mechanisms in place to try and prevent our cells from becoming cancerous. And when you look at children who have cancer, you can start to look at things in their lifestyle. Like, were they exposed to something toxic? Did they grow up around a source of radiation? And obviously there are situations where cancer develops and there is no environmental cause. But as a general rule of thumb, most children do not get cancer. Most of the cancer that we see develops later in life, and it's because our cells are designed with protective mechanisms to try and prevent our cells from becoming cancerous. And as we age and as we get older, those mechanisms start to, deteriorate and be affected by our environment. Okay. Pyrus Flame Wielder. Any simple tips to live healthier if you've grown up in a somewhat unhealthy household and don't really know how to be healthy? All right, Pyrus the Flame Wielder. Really cool question. Thank you for asking it. So I would actually kind of say that question would apply to me. I grew up in, I wouldn't say like a really unhealthy household, but it wasn't really a very healthy household. So I wasn't really raised, around like people doing a lot of fitness or a lot of exercise. My parents didn't eat like really badly, but we were definitely eating like microwave meals and fast foods, and I remember eating like a lot of Happy Meals as a kid. So that was me. And then I was in college and I was studying biology, and before I even knew that I was interested in health at all, I jokingly like to say I was probably drinking a Coke and eating Cheez-Its when I had my little epiphany moment. And I realized, oh, processed foods probably aren't good for the body. Anyways, long story short, I was in that exact situation. Realizing for the first time as like a 19-year-old or something that I wanted to try and be healthier, but I didn't really know how. So you just kind of need to start somewhere. There are literally, probably hundreds of different things you can do to be healthier. And it's pretty impossible to think that you're going to just immediately start doing all of them in a split second. But what is realistic is to just pick one thing and start there. And because there's hundreds of different ways to be healthy, you have a lot of different options to choose from. So you got to pick something that seems realistic for you, something that seems really easy to do. All right. One of the biggest reasons that a lot of us fail at trying to improve our health is because we just feel overwhelmed with so many different things. We try to do a whole bunch of things at once, and we see this kind of process as being difficult, as being hard. So the first thing to do is just kind of shift your thinking. And rather than seeing being healthy as something difficult, see it as something easy. All right, I've got 100 different ways that I can start improving my health, and all I have to do is pick one? Cool. So here's a couple of, again, just throwing out as many ideas as I can. Get more sleep. Handle your stress better. Start doing something that you find really fun. Wait, did she just tell me to have fun to improve my health? Yeah, I did. Because when you do something that you really enjoy and that makes you laugh and makes you smile and makes you forget about work and stress and bills and whatever else, that's a really great stress relieving activity. So for me, it's going hiking outside with my dog. That is just like the most fun thing in the world for me. I love it. And it's great because it's physically active too. So getting more sleep, finding something that you love to do, which is a really great stress reliever, doing something creative or artistic, and especially if you don't consider yourself creative or artistic, do it. Do something. Challenge yourself. No one ever has to see the paintings you make or the sculptures you sculpt or whatever, right? Don't do it for anyone else. Just do it for yourself. But doing something artistic and creative is also really good for you. Again, because it's relaxing and it's fun and it takes your mind off of stressful things. But I also think there's a lot of other benefits that come when we start expressing ourselves, helping get the emotions that get bottled up to come out. Obviously, eating better. But even within eating better, there's like hundreds of different things you could do. One simple thing is to just start eating more slowly. Chew your food really thoroughly. And if you used to be a person, or if you're typically a person who eats your meals really fast, challenge yourself to just slow down. The slower and more thoroughly you chew your food, the better you're going to digest the food. So if it feels too crazy to change your diet and start eating different things, then don't. Just start eating the same things, but eat them more slowly. Chew your food more thoroughly. Try to avoid overeating at your meals. One of the things that happens when we're eating is that our hunger, the messages being sent from our stomach to our brain, back to our stomach, back to our brain, it's not immediate. So when you start eating your food, it's going to take generally it takes 10 to 15 minutes for the signals between your stomach and your brain to catch up to one another. So when you slow down your eating, or even try to take a break, right? Like eat half of your meal, take a break, then you give your body a chance to realize that you're not hungry anymore. Because if you can avoid overeating at your meals, that's a huge, huge factor right there. And a big part of the reason we overeat is that we eat too fast. And we actually fill up about this far through our plate of food, but then we eat the whole plate of food and then we feel overstuffed afterward. Eating more vegetables, drinking more water, eat a salad a week or a salad a month. If a salad a week sounds too intimidating, start with a salad a month. The whole idea is to break it down, give yourself realistic things, and pick out goals that you can see yourself doing. The easier the better. And just start somewhere. Every single step you take is a step in the right direction. So just having the intention to want to be healthier, that's probably the biggest piece of the pie right there. So Pyrus, I really hope these tips are helpful. I actually have a lot of videos about like tips to improve your health. There's a video called like where to start, like healthy tips for beginners, where to start, something like that. So a lot of other videos out there that can hopefully help make that an easy process for you. Michelle Holloway. I have rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, DISH syndrome. I need help with a workout to help my overall pain with my hips. One of my hips collapses when walking. So first of all, Michelle, I just want to give you a big hug, internet hug. That is a big load to bear. That is a lot to be dealing with, and I just send you my prayers and my blessings because I know that must be a lot for you. First thing I want to say is that I would really, really encourage you to reach out to a doctor of functional medicine. And if you put in functional medicine in your zip code or go to functionalmedicine.org, you can see if there's one in your area. The other cool thing about functional medicine is that you can work with a doctor that doesn't even live in your city, because a lot of that work is just done from them looking at blood work. So you can go somewhere and get your blood work done and then have all those results sent to that doctor, and there's a lot of information they can give you just based on that. But chances are there is some kind of underlying issue in your lifestyle or your diet or who knows what that is causing those different conditions. Because those are a lot of conditions to all be going on simultaneously. There's probably something in your life, in your lifestyle, that could be resolved to at least dramatically help those situations. Another thing to consider is that you have 2 inflammation-related conditions. So the Hashimoto's thyroiditis and rheumatoid arthritis, those are both inflammation-based conditions. So anything you can do to reduce inflammation. Inflammation results as the body's trying to protect itself. It's actually an immune response. Unfortunately, there's not like a one-size-fits-all answer. There's no one thing to do. But if you look up anti-inflammatory diet, which is basically just eating really natural foods, staying away from processed foods, staying away from processed sugar, that would certainly be a good place to start. Okay. Workouts to help with pain. There is a kind of, I guess, branch, maybe not branch, but a type of yoga called yin yoga, Y-I-N, yin yoga, which is a very, very restorative type of yoga. And basically it involves going into certain poses and stretches and holding them for like 1 to 3 minutes. So rather than vinyasa yoga, where you move through different poses or asanas, not super quickly, but fairly quickly, yin yoga, you're actually moving into a posture and then holding it for almost an excessively long time. And that is really, really restorative. It actually nurtures the connective tissue. So in between our joints, and we could talk about the fascia around our muscles, the connective tissue, our actual joints themselves. Something like yin yoga is actually really, really effective for kind of nurturing that connective tissue and helping it to heal and repair. So that would be one thing to consider. We have a couple videos on our channel. I believe we have a few yin yoga. I just filmed one a few days ago. And then there's, if you put in yoga therapy on our channel, we have a couple videos as well that are specific yoga therapy videos that are designed to be very nurturing and restorative. Last thing I would say is to consider seeing a chiropractor. Because if you have a hip collapsing when walking, there could actually be some kind of structural thing going on that is causing that to happen. So seeing a chiropractor will also help you determine if there's actual joint damage or some kind of structural issue going on, either as a result or a cause of those different conditions you're experiencing. So Michelle, my prayers, my blessings to you, my biggest hugs that I can send you over our fiber internet connection. And I really hope some of this information is helpful for you. I know those are definitely challenging things to have to deal with. So Rita Tibbs has thrown on to try eating a plant-based diet. So again, plant-based diets are a big part of that kind of anti-inflammation or fighting inflammation. Again, if going plant-based is, too much for you or too overwhelming, just reduce the processed food. Reduce things like any kind of processed sugar, any kind of white flour products, white bread, stuff like that is also going to cause inflammation. And just opting for natural foods, minimally processed foods, and as many vegetables as you can eat. Also worth noting, healthy fats. Healthy fats are going to be super duper important as well, because they literally become part of that connective tissue that protects your joints. So a lot of people are on low fat or fat-free diets, but if you have any kind of inflammation issue, joint pain, arthritis, etc., you need to have as many healthy fats. Well, I shouldn't say as many healthy fats in your diet as possible, but a lot of healthy fats in your diet. Chia seeds, flax seeds, avocados, coconut oil. Man, I keep accidentally, I've got like the touchpad thing on this laptop and I keep doing weird stuff here. Psychetruth, as a vegan, my arthritis disappeared within a month after adopting a whole food plant-based diet. Proof is in the pudding, as I like to say. It's not a guarantee that that's going to work for everyone. I don't necessarily think that a plant-based diet is the ideal diet for every person on the planet. But for those of you experiencing arthritis, and again, any kind of inflammation-based issue, anything that ends with itis, that means it's based in inflammation. See what a plant-based diet does. See if it helps. Ricardo Ferreira, Miss Corrina Rachel, I always am bloated all day. What can I do? All right, so a really common question, bloating. This relates to the topic of belly fat, which is another really, really huge issue, huge topic right now. So bloating, belly stuff, belly fat. A couple of different things to consider. One, is your digestion, or how do I want to phrase this? How can you help improve your digestion? Because if you suffer from bloating and you suffer from belly fat, part of the problem is that your body is not able to fully digest all your food. So, you know, if it's a bloating feeling that you have all day, then that's, you know, we'll get to that in a second, but certainly if you're feeling bloated after your meals, that's a really good indicator that your digestion is what they call sluggish. It's just not moving as fast as it's supposed to. And if you feel bloated all day, again, improving your digestion is going to be an important part of the equation. So, taking probiotics can be a good place to start. Probiotics feed the good bacteria in your digestive tract, the bacteria that perform really important functions. Can be killed by alcohol, sugar, processed flour, the just kind of typical diets that most of us are eating kill off a lot of that important flora or bacterial cultures that live in our gut and help us digest our food. So taking probiotics helps to restore and actually replenish those good bacteria in your gut. You can also consider doing a liver cleanse or just eating foods that support the liver. If you put liver as a search term on our channel, I have an entire video dedicated to that topic. But again, the liver is another organ that can become sluggish. And just like an air filter, when it gets plugged up with dirt and then the air just doesn't flow through as much anymore, this is kind of what can happen to our liver. So again, lots of sugar, lots of alcohol, lots of processed foods, that's gonna just slow down our liver over time. So again, do it as a cleanse if you want to, or just look up foods that support the liver. So that'd be things like apple cider vinegar, olive oil, watermelon, avocados. Reducing processed foods in general is a really good thing to consider. Another consideration for belly fat and bloating is stress. Something that we don't really think about, but what they have found is that elevated levels of cortisol, which is one of our stress hormones, are correlated with belly fat. So what does that mean? It means that when we are stressed out all the time, it means that when we are irritable all the time, or you're just feeling stressed, you feel that mental, emotional stress, that mental feeling actually triggers a physical response in the body, a physical hormone. There are several stress hormones, but cortisol is one of the most studied. And so when you have elevated levels of cortisol, for whatever reason, it is directly correlated with increased amounts of belly fat. So reducing your stress levels can be really effective for getting rid of that little belly bulge, and also I think for helping with bloating. One thing to think about is that when we talk about digestion, and when we talk about things like metabolizing fats and breaking down the foods that we eat, this process of digestion can be kind of put on the back burner when our body senses that we're in a state of fear, we're in a state of stress. So it's kind of a survival mechanism. That stress hormone, that cortisol, it's there so that when you see a bear and your mind registers fear, registers danger, it elicits a physical response in the body to help you fight or flight. But in this day and age, right, we aren't actually seeing bears. We aren't actually in states of danger, for the most part. right? We're just in states of like deadlines and bills and work, and it's stress that is conditional, circumstantial. It's part of our lifestyle, but it's not an actual threat to our lives. So the physical response of stress that results, which is there to help us fight or flight, doesn't actually get used. We don't actually fight or flight. We sit there at our computer, right? Or we sit there in our car. So unfortunately, things like the immune system, things like digestion, things like fat metabolism or burning fat, those processes get put on the back burner when our body is thinking that we're in a state of danger. So that's what that stressed out feeling does. That feeling of mental and emotional stress affects us physically and actually stops some of those important functions like immune system and metabolizing fat and digesting our food. So if you can get out of that stressful state of mind, get out of that feeling of stress, reducing cortisol levels, suddenly the body says, okay, it's safe to put our energy into digesting food. It's safe to put our energy into metabolizing fat, etc. So again, this all comes back to getting more sleep, reducing our stress levels. Not something we typically think of as being related to our belly, but they're completely related, totally related in actuality. So Ricardo, couple of things there. Last thing I would mention is that doing twists, like actually doing the twist, the dance move, no. Doing different twisting motions is also really good. It kind of massages the organs, so to speak. So if you look up yoga for digestion, or any of the videos that we've done that are like yoga for belly fat or yoga for detox, those videos will contain a lot of twisting motions that literally kind of massage those organs, help stuff to move around, help to get rid of any stagnant energy or just stagnant food in the digestive tract. So that's another thing to consider too. And just something you can do right now is just twisting in your chair. Twisting. Twisting the body. And sometimes I'll even like massage my belly. Yeah. Oh, Insidious Joe, I don't know what this is in relation to, but it's funny. If that's the case, Corrina be stressing less than Shaq at the free throw. I don't know. Maybe if I scroll up here, I can figure that out. But thank you for the laugh, Insidious Joe. Thank you, Laura Schmidt. It's great to see you. Thank you for your words of encouragement. I really appreciate that. Alrighty, looking. For questions. Oh my gosh. Okay, looking for question marks, guys. The question marks really do help. Trenton Willman. How come we don't all eat nothing but superfoods and take our diets seriously? Take supplements to become badass as a species. Availability, tips on practical, time-considerate ways to eat healthy. This is a really interesting question. How come we don't all eat nothing but superfoods and take our diets seriously? Why don't we? Let's see here. We are, as a general rule of thumb, a society of immediate gratification. I feel in many ways, especially here in America, we've kind of been conditioned to expect things to look good and taste good and smell good, and everything has to, just be like really, what do I want to say, pleasurable. Actually, maybe the answer to your question, Trenton, is that we are kind of pleasure-focused beings. And unfortunately, the food industry out there, I believe, has kind of used this to their advantage. So they know that people gravitate towards things that send off a reward response in the brain. They know that, humans like food that tastes good. So, not to sound really anti-corporate, but I think a lot of these corporations have kind of taken our human nature and they were like, how can we become billionaires by exploiting people's human nature? And so they created junk food, and they created refined sugar, and they, created all these super stimulating, excitatory things, knowing that humans would become addicted to them, that humans would become addicted to the reward feeling that they get when they eat sugar and chocolate and fried things and stuff like that. And largely they've exploited it. Because if these corporations had an intention to help us become more badass as a species, they could have developed healthy foods. And it's not that like all things that are healthy have to taste bad. There's tons of things that are, healthy and nutritious for us that taste great. And the only reason that we think a lot of those things don't taste great is that we've been exposed to these, like, what I like to call frankenfoods, that, have kind of distorted our taste buds, distorted our minds in the sense that we start to think that the norm, the bare minimum for something is that it has to taste really good and it has to be really this or be really that. If these companies would have taken their huge amount of time and huge amount of money and resources to try and create something healthy, and even make healthy stuff that tastes good, or at least make things that are more healthy, we would be a much healthier species. So, I know the blame isn't all on the corporations, but I definitely think they've had a huge role in creating a species that is really, really unhealthy for the most part, because they've taken advantage of our human nature and the things that we gravitate towards. Another reason is that a lot of people are miserable in their lives. We live these really stressful lifestyles. Most people work jobs that they hate. And so for a lot of the planet, food and alcohol and whatever other pleasures become like all that life is about. And if you don't like your life and you're not happy, then it's really hard to have a motivation to do something good for yourself. Man, sorry, I'm sound like a real Debbie Downer here. Okay, tips on practical, time-considerate ways to eat healthy. Let's move on to this part of the question. Tips on practical, time-considerate ways to eat healthy. Grow your own food if you can. If you have your own house, if you have a big yard and you can have a garden, what an just awesomely wonderful way to have a great supply of healthy food at your fingertips. I also think there's something really healthy about interacting with the dirt, touching food, being in the ground, being in the sun. Having a garden is a wonderful way to improve your health. Not exactly practical for everyone, but if that is something that is potentially practical for you, that would be a definite recommendation that I would make. You know, when it comes to time considerate, you know, I think one of the most important things to just kind of realize is that, you know, we live in a very, like I said, immediate gratification society. Everyone's fast paced. Everyone expects to have like, oh, you're hungry? Drive through this little window and you have food immediately. So in order for things to be time practical, time considerate, we kind of just have to have a little bit of planning. Because at that point that you get hungry, you know, it's difficult to come up with a healthy meal in 5 minutes. But if you can plan ahead, put in a little bit of time on the front end, planning, bringing healthy meals, bringing healthy snacks, you know, cut up vegetables, make a great snack to carry with you everywhere. And it really doesn't take that much time. And if you really don't have the time to chop up some celery and carrots and a cucumber, then depending on where you live, you can probably buy them already chopped up somewhere. But buying a big veggie tray to have in your fridge to munch on and snack on, heck, that would be an easy, practical thing to do, right? But having things on hand is really, really key. Having prepared ahead of time can do so much to help prevent you from making unhealthy eating decisions. I'm really lucky. I live in Austin. There's a lot of healthy food around here. So if I get hungry, it is kind of reasonable for me to find something healthy to eat fairly quickly. But that's not the case in a lot of places where, you know, I know that sounds stupid. In a lot of places where people live, I understand a lot of people don't necessarily have that option. So being prepared, putting a little time on the front end to take things with you, take snacks with you, pack your lunch, whatever it is, and just kind of remember that things like, you know, eating an apple, eating a banana, there's tons of fruits and vegetables out there that don't require any preparation at all. Like maybe you have to wash it off. In the case of an apple. You know, so I just think a lot of times it's about thinking outside the box, you know, and just trying new things. Go into the produce department and, you know, get a bag of apples and a thing of bananas and, you know, those little carrots. If you really don't want to wash them, get the little pre-cut up ones. And just challenging yourself to try new things and eat a lot of those foods that don't require any preparation at all. Even if you're not used to eating them. You know, a lot of times I think the biggest obstacle is just coming out of your comfort zone, trying something different, eating something new. Corrina Eisenhuber. Katharina, that's really pretty. Okay, what do you think about juice detox days? Okay, juice detoxing. And guys, I do want to go ahead and give the last call here. Last call for tips and for questions. I will try to answer at least one more after this. So if you would like that question to be yours, please consider leaving a tip. I really appreciate it. You just click the little $sign S looking thing underneath the comment box and you can be a part of the super chat. If you've been following what's going on YouTube lately, you know about the advertiser boycott that has hurt a lot of YouTube channels. Virtually every YouTube channel has been affected in some way or another. We've taken a big hit from the advertiser boycott, so we really appreciate your tips here. Also, we have a subscription service called Wellness Plus, where we are posting 10 to 20 videos a week, new videos, just like what's here on Psychetruth, except a lot more of it, a lot of 30-day programs and really cool kind of comprehensive series to help you get healthy and help you get fit. So you can check us out there. Any of the recent videos we've been posting, at the very top there is a link to our subscription service, Wellness Plus. That's a great way to support us too. We also have a Patreon. We also have videos up on Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can go check those videos out for free, and pretty please leave us a review. Really, really helps us out. Really great way to help us out. It doesn't cost you a penny. Is to leave us a review on our Amazon things. Okay, cool. So back to this question about juice detoxing. So there's a lot of detox teas, juice detox type things out there right now, tons and tons of them. And again, I have lots of videos I've done about detoxing and cleansing. There's one that is in the editor now that will be coming out soon. So if you put in detox on our channel, I encourage you to check out some of those other videos too. Now, detoxing is great. Basically what this means is we stop putting toxins into our bodies for a period of time to allow our body to play catch up and detoxifying everything we've taken in our lives. So detoxing toxins from food, detoxing alcohol, detoxing the general things that we inhale in the air, the formaldehyde that outgasses from the paint. If you live in a really polluted city, more toxins, right? So basically the situation is that our body is always detoxifying all the time. We've got our kidneys, our liver, our entire digestive tract, our gallbladder. These are all organs that help detox, and they detox all the time. But what happens is that in our lifestyles filled with processed foods and alcohols and generally not enough exercise, it just ends up being too much. The toxic load is more than our bodies can handle. So the idea of doing a detox or doing a cleanse is just to take a period of time where you reduce the amount of toxins you're putting in so that your body can catch up. So generally you'll go off alcohol, you'll go off processed foods, stay away from sugar and things like that while you detox. And in some cases, you may actually take a tea or a juice or something like that. So it's worth mentioning that you can do a lot to help your body detox just by taking out the alcohol, processed foods, sugar, and things like that. Even without restricting your diet or taking any tea or whatever, just reduce and remove toxins from your diet for a couple of days or as long as you can. And if you want to even supercharge your detox from there, you can take one of these teas or do what I like to do, which is a green juice cleanse. So then you're actually drinking green juices while you either restrict your diet or don't eat solid food at all, but you're still getting a huge amount of nutrients in. And interestingly, your body needs nutrients in order to detox. So my preferred way to cleanse or detox, if you're going to restrict your diet, is to drink green juice while you fast or while you don't eat. So that your body can get all those nutrients. Things like parsley and cilantro are really, really excellent for helping your body detox. So those are good things to have in your green juice. As far as picking out a green juice, I don't know if that's what you're asking. There's a lot of different things out there. I've done the Chef V green juice detox before. You can also make your own green juice at home if you have a juicer. I'm not sure what you're referring to in terms of juice detox days. Maybe that means like every once in a while you take a day where you just do a juice detox. You know, the thing about fasting from food is that in and of itself is a bit stressful on the body. Part of what helps our bodies have ultimate health, ideal health, is having a steady stream of healthy food into the body. And there's a certain stress reduction that occurs just from your body knowing that it's always going to get food. It's going to regularly be getting food intake. So when you fast, when you don't eat, it's a little bit stressful because your body kind of goes, are we in a famine? You know, what's going on? What's going on here? It gets scared. So randomly fasting from food and only drinking green juice, I feel is something that, you know, I don't know, could be helpful if you're already really healthy. But for just the random person, randomly fasting and only drinking juice, I think is probably kind of stressful. What I would recommend is to just drink as much green juice as you can. And try to focus on eating healthy. Again, sugar, processed foods, processed meats, fast food, those things should go, for sure. And just focus on eating minimally processed healthy foods. Brown rice, quinoa, lentils, beans of whatever kind, chickpeas. If you eat meat, then, you know, just have the cleanest, minimally processed meat that you can. You know, you don't want to be eating pepperonis and sausage. You could eat just something like, you know, baked chicken or, you know, baked turkey or whatever. It's clean. It's minimally processed. And the more that you just, you know, add green juice to your diet, really, really good thing. Gonna help improve that detox process. Whoa. Alrighty. Iowa Loki, looking to ensure I get all my minerals. Is there a good supplement you recommend? Okay, cool. So supplements. My primary feeling on nutrients is that you should get them from foods. Ideal scene for your body in terms of what they call bioavailability. So once you eat something, how well can your body break that thing down? How well can your body use it? The most bioavailable nutrients come when you get them from foods. So having a diverse diet with lots of fruits and vegetables is really the main way to do that. And if you are, you know, thinking about supplements, thinking about spending some money to get something to help ensure that you're getting, you know, all your nutrients, I would encourage you to spend that money on food. And one thing you can look for is what they call superfoods. So basically you have a food that contains nutrients. Well, a superfood just contains a lot of nutrients. And that's why it's called a superfood. Like gram for gram, you get more minerals, more vitamins, more antioxidants than in the regular food. So the goji berry, more nutritional content than a strawberry, right? But strawberries are still good for you. I'm just pointing out that one thing you could do would be to spend your money on superfoods. Again, they're a little bit more expensive, right? Than just like the regular food version, but they contain a whole lot more nutrients in them. So if you are, you know, thinking of spending your money on a supplement, I think spending your money on a superfood may even be a better bet. And there's a lot of things out there, like Green Vibrance is one. It's like a superfood powder, and it contains just tons and tons and tons and tons of different stuff. So that might be something to consider too. You can also get those in like tablet form. If you are gonna buy a pill or a vitamin or something like that, you want it to be food-based. And the way to tell is to look at the bottle, look at the jar, and it should list out a bunch of different foods, because it'll want to tell you, right? And if you're looking at a pill or a supplement and it doesn't have any foods listed on it, those are probably synthetic. That means they made the vitamin C in a lab, or they made whatever that vitamin is chemically, rather than taking it from foods. So a food-based supplement, food-based vitamin would be something to look for. But, you know, I would say spend your money on food, healthy food, superfoods, etc. Alrighty, you guys, so I am getting the signal that it's time to end my chat. So thank you all so much for being here. I want to thank Jesse Ochoa and exercise, workout, fitness, workout, cardio, strength, something or other for the tips today. Thank you guys so much. I super, super duper appreciate it. Many thanks to all of you for being here. Amanda, it was great to see you. Thank you for coming. Laura Schmidt, it was great to see you. Brian, happy birthday. This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. And I really hope that you guys will come back and join me next week. Many thanks to Ilke Aptroot for being my moderator again today. And Amanda as well for moderating. Thank you guys. Please remember that if you are a member of Amazon Prime, you can check out tons of videos without advertisements on Amazon Instant Video. We really appreciate it if you will leave us a review. We also have Wellness Plus, our subscription service. We also have Patreon. So many ways that you can help support our video production efforts. We love making videos. We love sharing information with you guys. We hate that YouTube is making it hard for us to survive right now doing that. So your support is greatly appreciated more than ever. We really, really depend on y'all's support to keep the doors open around here, keep the cameras rolling around here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys next week. It was time for live chat. The Psychetruth live chat. Every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on your YouTube machine. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. I'll answer your questions about whatever you want to talk about on the Psychetruth. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Live chat, live chat, live chat, live chat. Only on YouTube. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. I truly hope that this chat has been helpful for you. I want to thank everyone for coming. I do hope that you guys will come back same time, same place next week. And yes, wonderful, wonderful week to everyone. I hope that you are enjoying your summertime wherever you are. And I will see you guys next week. Cannot thank you enough. Have a wonderful day. In health and wellness, be well, and we'll see you very soon.